It's the Jay and Thomas Podcast, an hour of commentary on today's top stories, current events, or just life in general. And here are your hosts, Jay and Thomas Darden.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jay and Thomas Podcast, episode 8, The Whole Truth and Nothing But the Truth, maybe. So we'll start out like we do every day. Hey Dad, how's it going?
It's going very well. Very well. All is well. All's good. All is good. Ecuadorian flag back here behind me.
That's it.
Everybody can see that. Yeah.
Did you figure out what the Ecuadorian flag means?
When in Rome, do as a Roman do. I had it all written down. I don't have it within an arm's reach of me right now, but yeah, I did have it all written down.
What I enjoy is the large bird back there, because I think we talked about it actually in the very first or second episode. You told us what the red, the blue, and the yellow means, but the animal on there is looking pretty wild. Also, their halberds and spears and stuff look pretty cool. But with that being said, and life is good, the first topic that we have to talk about today is something that we kind of touch on every now and then. Is why do people not tell the truth or the whole story? And so to that end, Dad, that's a question that you posed to me. And what I wanted to do was to try to figure out, at least initially, what is truth, right? Or what's the definition of truth as we define it as basically as we can, because it can get very complicated. And what I found on, I believe it's Webster's, it might be dictionary.com, the definition of truth, and of course I'll put in a slide of this, is truth is the property of being in accord with fact or reality. In everyday language, truth is typically ascribed to things that aim to represent reality or otherwise correspond to, such as beliefs, propositions, and declarative sentences. The truth is usually held to be in the opposite of falsehood. And so, of course, we look at that definition, and even when it says we try to describe truth in everyday language, it's something where it can kind of be difficult to understand, what is the truth or what is truth in general, and then how does everyone define it? Because if we all are not operating under the same set of beliefs or understandings or values or anything like that, the truth, and as we've kind of heard it more and more nowadays, is, are you living your truth? And that definitely, I think, splits up a lot of people in terms of you have your truth, I have my truth, or the other side of the spectrum is there is the truth. It doesn't matter what your perception is. It doesn't matter any sort of beliefs or any other extra circumstances or anything like that. It's just truth is truth objectively versus subjectively when we talk about your truth and my truth. Does that all jive with you? Or when you say people aren't telling the truth, what does that kind of mean? Like, can you encapsulate that for me?
I just can't figure out when you ask somebody a question. I'm kind of a no-nonsense guy, and I want people to get direct to the meat of the story or direct to the bottom line. And most people want to mess around or they want to bullshit you. And I'm just not into that. Just tell me the truth and tell me what's going on.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
One of the advantages of telling the truth is, by Mark Twain, you don't have to remember what you said. That's basically it. You tell the truth and you don't have to try to remember anything, because people that don't tell the truth and they tell a lie, then they're going to have to tell another lie. So I just I don't understand why people don't tell the truth.
Okay.
When they can, it's easy just to tell the truth. So
to that point, which is a great point that you're bringing up, you don't have to remember a lie, right? And so one of the problems is it's a lot harder to carry on the lie forever and ever and ever and ever. And eventually most people, most lies will come out and whatnot. So 2 big reasons that I saw, actually it was 3. The third one I don't think has as much relevance to at least this subject or this show as the first 2. But one of the possible reasons, or a couple, is because of two big things, and I'll add the third one in just as a little bit of completionism there. So the very first thing, people may not tell the truth because of the impact it has on them. Okay, so we look at examples, right, where let's say somebody tells a lie because they are scared, of something, or afraid of consequences that may or may not exist in the future, where it looks as though they might be in danger if they tell the truth, right? One of the
Right.
instances that you're talking about is, how does it impact someone if they don't tell you the whole truth or get to the point? They might say flamboyant story, or they might kind of take you on a ride, as it were, air quotes, and they might be thinking, well, maybe you might not think they're as interesting, or you may potentially have an issue where if it's affecting the person telling the lie, or somebody who might be embellishing on a story or something like that, that they have your attention, and your attention is very important, right? And it's not something that comes cheap, and it is something that can be lost very quickly. So people may, have your attention. They might want to hang on to it. They might want to beat around the bush. They might want to embellish. There's also things that they may not recall correctly, right? Memory is a fickle thing. It might be something that they just don't remember, and then they just kind of spout things off. It would be good to have like the scenario of, you don't have to obviously name the person, but somebody like has an example of that where, people don't get to the point, or they don't tell you the entire truth to that end. Do you have like an example of what's kind of going on there, or something that someone wasn't telling you directly to the point, or something like that?
Well, it's the truth is a mechanism when it's a dangerous situation. They tell the truth because they're scared, or they tell lie because they're scared.
Right.
I was stopped one time in North Carolina driving my truck, and the police officer said I was speeding. Highway patrol, speeding. Okay. Well, I said I've never had a ticket, never had a speeding ticket, or any kind of ticket. And
Sure.
So he hit back ticket. I looked at him and I said, why would I lie about something you could check? If I'm gonna lie to you, I'm gonna lie to you about something that's gonna gain me something, or it's gonna mean something to me, or get me out of something. But why would I lie to you about something that you could authenticate or check? And so since I was honest with the guy, he knocked 10 miles an hour off the speeding ticket.
Oh, wow.
It was still $250, but he did knock 10 miles an hour
Sure.
off of it. So,
Jeez.
yeah.
Okay.
When you're going through them in North Carolina,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
But
so
that's what I don't understand. People will ask, honestly, people will go, let me be honest with you.
uh-huh.
Oh, so you're not going to be honest with me?
Like normally, you mean?
When people say, let me be honest with you. Oh, so
Potentially that might be the case. But one thing somebody might do, and that's actually a perfect example of kind of the next point here, is the impact of the truth on others. Okay. This is something that I'm struggling with just on a regular basis, is being tactful when I have to tell somebody a hard truth, right? I'm having to worry about, do I need to tell somebody the truth in this instance, if it will hurt their feelings, or if it will put them in a bad spot. And that's something where somebody may not tell somebody the direct truth, or be very blunt with somebody, or get to the point, because you're going to have instances where it's going to affect the other person the way you are controlling your message. And so that's the second iteration of this, is what impact does the truth have on the other person? Where if it's me telling you like, hey, that white shirt is making, it's washing your face out, right? Well, I told you the truth. I didn't beat around the bush. But if you like your shirt and you think it makes you look good and whatnot, well, what is either of us gained in that instance, right? And of course, I don't obviously mean that, but that's just to my point. There are people at work who you gotta, do the same thing with. There's people in life who, same deal. The truth can potentially hurt them, and that's not to say, that's not to say like, hey, look, you're like I'm telling you the truth. I'm doing you a favor. It's like, are you really though? Are you telling them the truth by giving them some bit of a piece of reality that they may have been, I don't want to say ignorant to or anything like that, but And then of course the third thing was like, first is how does it affect you or yourself? Second is how does it affect others? Of course, this being the truth. And thirdly was how does it affect business? Because your transaction with people, like everyone's doing business all the time, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter what they're talking about. It's always business. Everything's business. Everything is a transaction in one shape, form, or fashion. And one of the things there is, like, hey, that might affect our relationship later in the future.
I was looking at, it says telling the truth won't win you a flock of friends, but it'll win you the right ones. So,
okay,
a lot of people have told me I'm brutally honest, and I don't spare any. I just don't. I just tell them what I think. It's just easier that way,
Okay, it's easier. It's easier on you.
I don't know. I don't think it was the psychology that I took in college. Said,
Well, it may be easier on you, but it might not be easier on the other person. And one of the things that you have to deal with in life, if you want any friends, is how to be tactful in those situations, because it will bite you on the butt more times than it will help you just telling someone, air quotes, like it is. And understand this, it's based on your perception. It's not the fact that like whatever you are perceiving is the absolute truth and there's no other details or anything like that. You gotta, I'm not saying you gotta give people the benefit of the doubt all the time, but you have to approach things tactfully. And when someone says, oh, you're brutally honest, they could just be being polite and are saying that guy's an asshole, but I'll just call him brutally honest because the truth may hurt him. Right?
That's me. That's me. Right.
So that's the thing, right? Where truth to that degree is how does it affect you? How does it affect others? And how does it affect your business life? So, which can be transaction with any person for anything. It's not necessarily like business is business is business. So that's something that's kind of going on with truth there. It's right. It's a good topic.
Right. You're right.
But it's a very precarious one, right? And there are so many things in life that we will assume.
Oh yeah, it's a real deep one because the pathological liar lies all the time. Normal people will lie for a reason, and it's because they're either misinformed or they lie. They don't lie on purpose. They just say something and it's not really the truth, but they have, they don't do it on purpose to gain or benefit, from any of it. So, it's just not. It's an interesting thing, and we won't even get into politicians about how they don't ever tell the truth. We won't go down that road, or the media. They're just making stuff up as they go along now. It's so out of control. It's not funny. Well, out of control. You making it up.
You made a very interesting point with your truth story about the cop, right? You said, why would I lie about something you can verify? Okay. Well, in the same breath, you then say, if I'm going to lie, it's going to be about something that's going to gain me something. So to that end, does that make you a pathological liar, or a liar that, you're only going to lie when you assume you can get away with it. Because, I mean, what kind of message is that sending out to people, especially when you get mad at folks for not lying or for not telling the truth?
That's right. I'm only going to lie. I'm only going to lie when I think I can get away with it, you know?
Yeah, but you submitted
I'm not
this.
going to lie about something somebody could check and verify.
Well, that's a great.
You know, you tell lies to one.
Go ahead, tell us why do you tell lies?
Well, they tell lies to, number one, to protect other people. And number two is to protect number three is to promote ourselves. You know, I'm smarter, or I'm more attractive, or they pad a resume or something like that. Like I really am only 41 years old and, you know, that kind of stuff. People, you know, they lie on their, what is that, on those dating sites and stuff
yeah.
like that. So, you know, it's like, really? Yeah.
Well, okay, that's fair, but
like, wait a minute, you didn't look like that in the picture that you posted.
Yes, we've all been catfished. Okay, like we all know the camera takes off 40 pounds. I mean, that's just kind of how it is.
Not that I would know. Okay.
Right? Yeah. You know, we never lie, obviously, and don't promote it on this show, especially if we can't get away with it. Right? So that's something else. But to that end, okay, people. There are a myriad of reasons why people don't tell you the entire truth. I mean, or
you think about people that are in marketing. Think about people that are in marketing. Okay, about people that are in marketing. They're trying to market a product. They're only going to tell you what's good about it. They're not going to tell you what's bad about it. They're not going to tell you, you know, that the car's airbags will explode and kill you. They're going to just tell you what a great car it is. And I'm guessing.
Okay, but let's look at that logic here for a second. You don't walk up to people that you meet in everyday life and tell them, hey, like, hello, I'm Tom Jordan. I'm an asshole. You're probably not going to like me from the get-go, so leave me the fuck alone. Like, people aren't going to put their, air quotes, worst foot forward or tell somebody the flaws immediately, especially if you're trying to garner people's attention, affection, and time, right? So yeah, if a perfect example, we talk to somebody about this podcast, right? We're not going to go out and tell them, yeah, the production quality kind of sucks and like they always look unkempt and then the topics are kind of dumb. It's like, we're going to tell people what we like about it because we are trying to share in those things. Now, there is a time and place for somebody to put out the negative things about something to try to either garner sympathy or compassion from somebody, or like a like-minded person if they're having a bad day and like, this sucks. Like, yeah, I know it sucks. But people aren't going to espouse all of the negativity all the time because, for one, that's not a world you want to live in. And two, no one's going to talk to you if that's all you're putting out all the time is the whole truth. Where, and by that I mean the negative stuff sandwiched right with the positive, because oftentimes stuff's going to be worse off than it is good. And people just don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. They just don't. Like, it's not worth their time because life's hard enough as it is, no matter what your circumstances. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I can't tell anybody anymore that they're ugly and their mother dresses them funny?
You can, but just understand this, that if somebody kicks your ass because you tell it to the wrong person, or somebody, you know, throws hot coffee at you or some silliness like that, just understand that you can do things tactfully and do things with a bit of charm and you're ready to go, right? Like just walking up to somebody and just saying, man, you fugly. That's not going to get you any friends. Now, I understand, hey, that might not be your goal. But more times than not, it would appear as though most people or a lot of people want to come off as pleasant to be around. And if you are not, well, that's totally fine. But understand this, that being the hermit, right, and being the old grouch, that's a spiraling staircase that goes way, 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 way down. and then you're like, well, I'm just here now. Yeah, so don't be a Scrooge and be nice to people, and you don't have to be too nice to people, but it's like what is it? My mom always said, if you ain't got anything nice to say, just don't say anything at all.
That's right. Well, they don't understand me down here anyway, so I can say pretty much different things, and they don't understand.
Believe you me.
Pat's always telling me to be quiet because she said, you don't know who understands English and who doesn't down here.
Exactly.
They're not going to come right out and say, yeah, I know what you're saying, big boy. She said, you don't know who understands and who doesn't. So, because I talk about different stuff down here, I won't go down that road.
Now, you be careful. Okay.
All the lies we were told in 2020 to install Slow Joe are now all coming clear. Isn't that something?
Well, I was going to say, if that's how, or if that's really what you wanted to talk about, and then it just like, it's the big circle there.
I don't want to go down that road because it's too, every time they open their mouth, it's a lie. Every freaking time they open their mouth, it's a lie. So, but I did think it was interesting today when I was watching the news feed. He had cue cards in his hand. Mm-hmm. He was holding cue cards, and somebody had zoomed in with a camera on the cue card, and it said talking points.
Sure.
And the first 3 talking points that they zoomed in on were bashing Trump.
Okay.
At the G7 summit,
sure,
those world leaders don't give a damn about Trump. He's gone, man. He's gone. And you want to talk about him after he's gone?
Wrong.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I'll have to throw in a come on, man.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, dog face, pony soldier, all that silliness.
Yeah, so somebody over here on the sides, he had his talking points listed on a card that he was supposed to be reading when he stood up to talk in front of the world leaders.
Yeah. They're doing it to it. They showed a little bit today of Putin and whatnot. That was pretty interesting when he said the Russian hackers were American folks and they controlled a lot of that stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You're kind of challenging us there a little bit. That'll be neat to try to figure that shit out later. So super fun,
Well, the FBI got most of the rent money on the loan up line. I don't know how true it was, but it seemed like that they recovered most of the ransom money.
Oh, did they?
Lie, because everything on the internet's the truth, right? Yeah.
That's
what. If it's on the internet, it's got to be true, right?
If it's on the truth, it's got to be the internet. That'd be funny. So,
yeah.
The next thing, speaking of the world, the next thing you kind of wanted to hop into here was, why are shipping costs going up so much? And this kind of hits home directly with me because of course, my job working in a brokerage company, and then a freight forwarder and all that stuff, and dealing with domestic transport and everything. It's a cluster out there, man, and it is just nuts. The biggest areas that I found online after a quick search, and kind of what encapsulates this pretty well, I think, is the higher shipping costs have been sparked by a combination of factors. Okay, they include soaring demand amid stimulus checks. Right, people get that stimmy money, so they're out there making it rain. Okay. So
Christmas in July.
Right, a higher demand, saturated ports. The ports right now are ridiculous. You'll have like over 100 vessels berthed outside the ports, just hanging out, or maybe not berthed. They're just at anchor and they're just waiting, right? And you can only take so many containers off of a ship at one time. Like there's just not enough literal time in the day, and those guys are working 24/7 some of the times, and they are just going ham, and they're very fast at what they do, air quotes, from what I've heard at least, and there's not enough time in the day. They could work 24/7, 365, and it'd just not be enough, especially after some blockages like we had the Suez Canal incident. And places got stuck. They had issues with having to divert ships. Also, there are too few ships, right? What they've done or what they did at some point in time, is you've now got several of these like mega ships where they have so much capacity, right? Was like it's the super ultra mega ship that can carry so many 20-foot TEU units, which is like 20 something units. Basically, how many 20-foot container instances can they carry? And they are massive. They are insane. Well, one of the problems was a little while ago, they had to decommission several of those ships because they were too big and didn't have enough things going. Also, other ships as well. They just have to decommission them or move them on. So there's too few ships going on. Dock workers themselves. Some of the dock workers are very fast and they're very good. And then a lot of dock workers, especially over in the West Coast, they have unions. Okay, well, whether or not you are for or not for unions, dock workers, they're having some issues there with, like they always do. At least that's been the story forever. Is either they could go on strike. There was a strike, I think, up in Canada just a few months ago, where people at the rail were having some issues, and they were like, "Nope, we're just not going to work today. Thanks." And so you've had some issues there. Also, just hiring people in general. As we've seen now, there are more jobs than workers, air quotes. We've talked a little bit about people wanting to stay at home because they are making more money staying at home than they are going to a job, and also truckers, which you can kind of say a little bit about that in terms of what's going down with trucking, because that's just a nightmare all the time.
Well, I know that the fuel cost had gone up and they were short drivers. Mm-hmm. And then when COVID hit, everything went into the crapper and they started treating drivers, that they already didn't respect them for moving America. And then it got even worse where, you couldn't go in the building anymore. And there's nowhere to go to the bathroom. There was nowhere to obtain any food and things like that. And it got pretty ridiculous. That's one of the reasons I got out of it. I mean, there's a long list, but that was one of the reasons. It was just the total disrespect and disregard for the work that you were doing. And we drove right through the middle of the pandemic. I used to make a joke about keeping all my cooties in my truck.
Yeah,
and
right.
I didn't get out of my truck. I bought my food at the grocery store and I put it in the truck. Had a refrigerator and a freezer in there. Not everybody's that fortunate, and I was able to eat the food, in the truck and not have to get out or go into restaurants or truck stops and things like that. But they treated everybody like crap. And they probably still are. But that's just one of the things I thought. I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to be treated like this. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing them a favor. I'm bringing freight across the country for these people. So, they were paying me, but so it's a trade-off. But yeah, I the reason I asked that question was I read the other day where Nike was paying $2,000 a shipping container to ship, I guess, a container load of shoes, and now it's gone up to like 10 grand or something, or 12 grand.
Oh yeah.
But south of here, about 8 to 10 miles, we have a port. There's 2 tuna plants down there, and there's a port. And so I see that mega ship you're talking about. I see it when it comes by, and I don't see how it floats. It's got so much stuff on it. I don't see how it's even floating. I've never seen that many containers. And then I'll see some that go by that are empty. They come out full, but they'll go in empty. And then the ones I see go in full, they'll come out full too, or they'll come out empty. We see all day long. Now, it's not a lot. I don't know how many go in and out, 24 hours a day, because I'm not up 12 of it, or 8 of it. I'm not up 8 hours of it, and I'm not checking and keeping a clock. But some days you won't, like today, we didn't see but 2 ships over like a 6 or 7 hour period coming and going, and they can't get by us because we live close enough where we're on their way into the port. So, but Pat was reading where one of the workers on one of the ships tested positive for COVID.
Oh wow!
Maybe they drop that anchor out there and make them sit out there until they test all the rest of them, and then make them stay out there until I guess their 14 days are up, or 10 days, however long they do that, and then and then bring them into the port to get unloaded. So that could snap through a lot of stuff too, I guess.
Yeah, that kind of stuff can go insane, where one person can shut down. I mean,
huge operation.
Anything, yeah. It kind of harkens back to the one person affecting, or I'll say, yeah, I mean, technically you could say it like this: one person can affect something that, like, insanely large operations. One of which being those mega ships out there. Another being we would have loads that would have to be ordered from a plant, and it would be a plant for like GM or Chevrolet or something like that, and it would be the tiniest little part, right? The tiniest little thing to make this plant, like it would be just something to shove into a car or something to shove into a mechanism of a car or something like that. And they would have to order that. It would be very quickly done, and it would be something where you would have the plant stop, and like every second the plant stops was like $30,000 a minute or something crazy. Where that's just how it went, and it's incredible because if that person, let's say that person was driving the truck or something, or somebody was had COVID and it was on the water, right? And then they got there and they couldn't go any further. It's like, well, if they don't get this stuff in time, then you're screwed, man. Like, it just don't work. So that stuff can get pretty hairy. And the fact that they have contingencies, right? But one of the other issues too, we talk about shipping cost. Well, right now, air freight is also insane, especially during the pandemic time. It was nuts, and you had cargo stacking up in like air yards, right, where the stuff couldn't even sit in their warehouse because there was just too much, and you would have things that would be chock full and stuff would get lost and everything, and it was incredible, and the lack of space just like cranked up those prices. Well, it's something that, don't think that's not going to fall onto the consumer, especially here in good old America. Like,
that's right.
People pass that cost along. So if you found that your, latest item you purchased, but you purchased it a year ago and it's gone up by so much money, well, understand that it takes more to get that product to you. And just like how Rodney was talking about last time, where they had issues with keeping stuff in stock, right? People weren't going to work to the factories or places that would assemble and generate those goodies and toys and those hobby crafts and stuff. Like, they just weren't there. So everything's slowly but surely going up, and it's a bit of a nightmare. Also, speaking a little bit more on the truckers, we talk about this just about every day, wondering what the situation is or if it's getting any better, and it's just always going to no, it's just getting worse. And it's like I chuckle at it right now, but it's a nightmare, man. They have issues with delays. They have issues with chassis shortages, or what they put the containers on, right, and move them around with the trucks and everything. They have driver shortages. Fuel costs is going up. I mean, it's just a nightmare. And then wait times for folks. We had something on one of our meetings where wait times could be up to like 6 hours at a time, and now that's kind of a low estimate. And also, speaking of which, we had that issue. We talked about this, I think, a little while ago, where the bridge in Memphis to Arkansas has a crack in it, right? Well, that's going to take, I think, until the end of August to get repaired. Well, now people are having to charge extra to go around the bridge, right? Because their drivers are getting screwed when it comes to, like loads going over that bridge, or where they would have, where now they got to go all the way around, and it's no bueno. Like, everybody's losing out on their time and their money, and it's something else.
Yeah, that was another thing, that going to a place and sitting for several hours and not getting any detention time for sitting there.
Right.
And I would tell people, if the wheels aren't turning, I'm not earning. Yeah. Right. So I'm not going to sit there for nothing. So it was a battle.
Oh yeah. So, a constant thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and as
And, you
they,
know, and the people, I talked to some people down here from Canada, and they brought all of their stuff from Canada down here in a container. Well, it cost them like 10 grand to bring all their stuff down here. Well, it wouldn't have cost 10,000 down here for them to replace whatever they brought. Their stove, their refrigerator. It wasn't like they put a car in there, but their couch and their love seat. And I mean, really, dining room table and chairs, all that kind of stuff that you brought down here, and it wouldn't have cost you near that to replace it down here with the stuff. So
yeah,
I
but
just thought that was interesting that they wanted to bring their stuff here, and
Well-
they had 10 grand, you know, extra to pay for that container to come, and then listen to the inventory nightmares and the custom nightmares and all they had to go through to get that baby on the dock and then get it from the dock to their home. And I was like, geez, man, God bless you, you know.
well, okay. One of the problems there is though, and no offense to the great country of Ecuador, but you probably aren't going to see the same amount of manufacturing quality for some of those items.
Oh, absolutely not.
You know,
Absolutely not.
I saw from personal experience that if you sit in a plastic chair and don't move a muscle, that it will explode underneath you and shrapnel from the plastic will shoot off of the third floor balcony, and then people will be running in the streets trying to escape the explosion, man.
The rest of it,
Yeah.
the rest of it that you're throwing off the balcony because it's
Yeah.
no good.
And it's a scenario where I would not blame anybody in the slightest for bringing over their good quality stuff, because the last thing I need in my life right now or ever again is an exploding chair, because estoy muy gordo, you know, and so it's like, alrighty. So yeah, but also people brought over knickknacks and stuff too, where, you know, like train sets, things like that, things you can't replace. And as much as you're mentioning the cost of like technology and stuff down there, I mean, if they brought some of that stuff down there too, then oh yeah, I'm gonna bring my 50 something inch television, because I don't want to buy the Univision version for double the price, and it's not even like a Sony or a Samsung or something like that. So, you know. It is what it is. Now
We got a is it block punt? Block punt. They used to make a lot of stereo equipment and stuff. That's the type of TV that was down here. I don't know who made it, but that's the type of TV that we ended up down here with. But I mean, it's okay. The only thing I will tell you is we bought a stainless steel. I thought it was stainless steel fan, 20-inch oscillating fan.
Yeah.
Put it beside the bed. Okay, and it's all metal. 60 days, it's rusted and quit. 60 days from the window being open and the salt air and the ocean breeze coming in. Yeah, 60 days. It's just rust pitted, and one day it just stopped turning.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was about $60, and probably at Walmart it'd be like 40. So,
Well, maybe that's why they brought their stuff there.
I bought a plastic one. Instead of buying the metal, I bought plastic. So,
Sure.
Not that it's going to be any better, but I bought the Air Monster brand. So,
I was gonna
there
say
you go.
you should just pay $400 for the Dyson, and then it just be good forever, because it doesn't have a fan, you know, where the blades are out and you can see all that stuff. You like the blades are on the bottom, and it it ionizes the air and shoots it out towards you. So that's what we'll do there. But yeah, shipping costs is going up. The world, you know, cats and dogs living together. It's just it's absolutely nuts, and it doesn't. It, as Willy Wonka would say, it doesn't show any sign of stopping. You know, it's just going to keep going up and up and up. And you're going to have issues and things are going to get more expensive, and then it's something else, man.
It's funny. Fuel cost. It's funny you mentioned fuel costs. The diesel Supreme here is $1.54 a gallon for
Wow.
diesel fuel. Gas is $2.09, and these people are out of their mind down here because it used to be like $1.50. Yeah.
I was gonna say I'd
like
be out of
$1.
my mind too if diesel in general cost 50 cents more than, or 50 cents fewer or less than the regular gas, because I'm sure they're running gas a lot more than they're running diesel.
They run a whole lot of diesel trucks down here, diesel pickups and stuff. It's really it's something that it's unusual, the cars that you see that are diesel that you wouldn't think back in the States.
Sure.
But
Well,
they do a
also
lot of
diesels
it.
last a lot longer too. If you take care of them, they'll last forever, right? That engine and that
Right.
whatnot. So,
Right. That's true.
I mean,
That's very true.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Well, and you said right then that's a good segue into, you'd be surprised on what we see down there. The topic that I'm bringing to the discussion today is something that I thought was kind of interesting. Is what is normal? Okay, so we've talked a little bit about politicians and like messages people have, and kind of what's mainstream. And
Right.
to that end is kind of, what's normal and how do we define it? Well, something that I found online, which I thought was kind of interesting, was normality is a behavior that can be normal for an individual when it is consistent with the most common behavior for that person. Normal is also used to describe individual behavior that conforms to the most common behavior in society. So, however, normal behavior is often only recognized in contrast to abnormality. I enjoyed that last sentence there quite a bit, because however, normal behavior is often only recognized in contrast to abnormality. So, to that end, normal is what most commonly is done by what others and you. So, with that being said, and we can only show normality when we see something that's not normal. And it kind of goes back hand in hand with what's normal, what's not normal, when does something become normal. It kind of has that feeling of I forget who says it, where it's like, I can't define what sex is, but I know when I see it, right? So when people are kind of saying that's not normal, it's like, well, what is normal? And I know that more so nowadays, people are, air quotes, letting their freak flag fly, or they're being their best self, and oftentimes it's doing something that isn't, in big air quotes, normal. So to that end, like, what is normal to you? And you oftentimes tell me people are lying, people are dumb, they don't know what's going on, or people are radical and things like that. Well, why is it that these folks, as some would describe them, or at least as you would describe them, maybe people who are more liberal or more people who are, let's say, more left, why does that seem that they are not normal?
Well, you wanted normal as a definition, and then why were some people comfortable with some things and others are not?
Sure.
When I looked up the definition of normal, normal has 6 definitions.
Oh yeah, it's got a ton.
And it's 4 of them are adjectives and 2 of them are nouns. A lot of stuff, a lot of things are the culture that people live in, and people follow the culture because they think that's normal. I mean, they think that's okay because everybody else around them is doing it. That's conforming to a standard or usual, typical expectations. So they're conforming to what they think is the right thing to do, or what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
That's why, like in the motorcycle world, you had 1%ers. The 1%ers are that 1% that are not going to do what everybody else is doing. They're just not. Now, they didn't go necessarily against it 100%, but they were just not going to fall into line with the rest of the 99%.
Okay.
And it's not true that most people are normal. They're not. Most people are not normal.
Okay.
It's not. They strive to fall into line with everybody else, but that's not necessarily right. It's not right to be like everybody else. What if everybody else is wrong, and you're falling in line with the wrong people? You know, if you're gonna, let's just take a protest for instance. If you're going to do a protest, and you line with those people thinking that what they're doing is right or normal, and it might not be, but to you, your vision is that that's the right thing to do. You know, it says it seems that most people are like sheep, and no one wants to lead the flock because they want to be normal. They want to stick with everybody else. You know, it's funny. People want to go, "What's the new normal?" Well, hell, what's the old normal? The old normal or new normal? I mean, what's the difference?
Well, and that's one of the points I wanted to get at was, when does something become normal, right? That's something where, how do you justify you doing what you're doing because you perceive it as normal? And what I mean by that is this: when somebody does something that either viscerally engages your mind or your thoughts or your actions to that degree, and you're like, those people are stupid, or that's dumb or weird or whatever. Well,
That's not normal.
exactly.
That's not normal.
So how do we justify as individuals our own, air quotes, normal? Because in that same token, and you were talking about somebody might go to a protest and it's something that says, well, it's what I think is right and it's the thing to do. Well, yeah, I mean, the same thing could be said for riots, that happened all over the summer, and also something that happened on January 6th, right? Like, we go back and forth between, is it right to do what some of those folks did? Is it normal? Right? I mean, is it normal? Is it not? And then who justifies that? Who's the person, or what's the entity, or what's the thing that controls that meter or that gauge, right? Where I know it's up to us individually, but as a collective, you know, we have our normal or normalities and whatnot, and then your abnormal stuff. So how do we justify that? Like, how do we figure out, okay, you're on this side of normal, or you're on that side of normal?
That's an individual thing. That's an individual call. That's an individual call, and you can use kids in school, or you could use the mask or whatever you want to use it to see what's normal or not. Well, we didn't wear a mask in school. Well, we didn't have a pandemic. I mean, it's individually what you think is normal, and what I think is normal.
Yeah.
People are not going to stray that far. They're not going to leave the flock. They're going to follow the sheep. They're going to follow the other people. Most of the time, there should be a huge rebellion right now, but previously, before we were lied to about the pandemic and the virus and all that crap that they've thrown at us, you know, we were going along and everything was normal with our lives until then, and then they uprooted everything. It's an individual call. What you think is normal, you know, I might not think is normal, or what I think is, you know, you might not like what I do. I might not like what you do. So it's an individual thing, and how we feel like we're fitting in with society or the other people in our culture. You know, I look at things down here and I go, wow, that's not normal. Yeah, it is. It's every day.
Yeah.
It's every day down here. You know, and I'm thinking, well, that's really strange. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's just because I don't know any better. So I can't call it it's normal here. I can't call it not normal because I don't know any better. So I guess it's a self-education and self awareness of what we live in our lives or how we live in our lives or whatever.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
I don't know.
I agree. Well,
What's the new normal? What's the new normal, buddy?
well, that to that end, that's another reason why I kind of wanted to bring up that point was also and you made a very good but and I don't want to say damning point, but you made a very good point in terms of you have to be more educated, right? Well, a lot of folks who are air quotes more liberal are oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes ones who are, by whatever standard you want to use, more educated. And it's something that is interesting to me because it would seem as though people can normalize more things if they are open to whatever it is. But that also leads back to our our LGBT topic, where they want to show things to children to make sure that it seems normal, right? It seems like it's an everyday thing. And it's not just with that community. It could be with anything, right? It could be with anything that is down from violence to sexual behavior to drugs, whatever you want to talk about. Like, you can normalize something in any way that you want to. There was a fantastic thing last week on one of the shows that I watch where it talked about propaganda. Okay, and it was actually like one of Sigmund Freud's relatives who came up with this, or somebody who was a very infamous psychologist who started to do these sorts of trends and propaganda and things like that. And speaking of normalizing things, they wanted to normalize smoking. Well, understand this. If you, and you touched on this earlier, where people market things, well, they only market the good stuff. Well, this kind of ties in with normalizing something, or they got, for the longest time in America, and I'm assuming all over as well, women didn't smoke, right? Like, men smoked cigars, then it was or pipes and things like that. And normally cigars weren't like the hip happening thing. And so what they did is I forget who this guy's name was. I'll try to remember to throw something in about a little bit about this topic, where it was this guy who generated like advertising. Basically, he came up with like propaganda, and he came up with branding. And so what they did was they branded or marketed cigarettes in a protest or a demonstration type thing to women. Well, think about it like this. They got a 50% increase, or 100%, or however you want to do those numbers, where if it was only men smoking at the time, especially cigarettes, well, let's get women smoking too, and then boom, your market share doubles. And so it's something where they normalize that sort of thing. So how often in mainstream culture nowadays are we normalizing things for profitability? All right, like, how often are we normalizing, like, a good example is, at least a good example to me, is like trucks, like pickup trucks, right? Who actually needs a pickup truck that's like $60,000 that hauls things that can carry, 6 people comfortably, and you actually have a job or a hobby or something crazy like that actually requires that? Well, it's not many, right? And you'll see several people running around town, and they just don't need a pickup truck, right? Or some sort of arbitrary thing like that, where things seem normalized, but in reality, it's just to increase market share. Right. I know that seems kind of like tangential and kind of, running around everywhere, but does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
That makes sense.
So, and like I said, that kind of seemed like it went all over the place, but normalizing things is going to open up, like, it's going to open Pandora's box to a bunch of different just different things. It's not that they're good or bad or whatever. They're just different. So.
I want to be normal.
You want to be
I
normal?
want to be different.
Oh, perfect.
No, I don't want to be normal. I want to be different.
Why do you want to be different?
I want to be special. I want to be special.
Well, that's fair. Well, statistically, you're on track. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that. and the bus ride, here for me is 50 cents. So
wonderful. Well, so you don't really care about how much gas goes up because you
pretty awesome.
Yeah, you ride an electric scooter and you take the bus. So, public transport.
Yeah. Well, I do both. But you've been down here. You know how crazy these people drive, and I don't take the scooter into town every time I go, but
oh, sure,
most times, yeah. So
well,
I want to fit in, so I'm going to take the little trunk off the back of it and put me a big plastic basket or gallon milk crate back there and bungee it to the holder back there, so I'll fit in and I put my vegetables or whatever in the basket when I'm riding down the road.
I was going to say, you just said you didn't want to be normal. You want to be special and different. So that means you got to keep your little...
I do. That's why I'm going to... It's funny because when we drive by people, they just look. They don't hear us. And we already go by and then they look to see what just happened.
Yeah.
Electrica. It's Electrica.
It's Electrica.
So they don't hear nothing. They just... Yeah, that's what it is. It's Electrica. So they don't see us go by.
Well, they see you. They don't hear you.
They don't hear us. Yeah. They don't hear us go by, and yeah. You got to stay on your horn when you're passing people because it's not loud enough for them to hear you coming. They don't hear you coming.
I was gonna say that's what the Ecuadorian assassins must use is electric scooters. They just roll up silently and then never
probably so
never stood a chance.
Never hear them coming and never hear them leaving. That's right.
That is nuts.
Yep.
All right.
It is crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Next week, I would like to talk about when did America become soft?
Okay, in what context?
And I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. I'll send you the show notes there, big boy producer Jay.
Yeah, let me tell you. So as always, make sure you like, comment, and smash the bell so you never miss an episode of the Jaye and Thomas podcast. If there's any comments you want to leave on the video, make sure you put them down below. And if there's any topics of discussion that you want to send to us, leave a comment, and I'll get you my email address, and then we can talk about whatever topics you would like, or if you want to be a guest on the show, like we had last week. Shout out to Rodney thanks for coming on, and we can try to set something up there and see what's up. It would be
very cool.
It would be excellent. Get more people out there, get them on, get stuff talking, get people talking. Get some other perspectives, because that's one thing that we're trying to do here to a degree is, share different points of view, share information that we can, try to be at least semi-comical, because, I don't think either of us are extremely hilarious. We're not going to lie to you like that, even though it might impact me negatively. But we are... more than
just talked
willing.
about lying, so be careful.
That's it. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's not gonna gain me anything by lying about my ability to.
Well,
to
you be careful.
Yeah, exactly. So, with that being said, this is the Jaye and Thomas podcast, episode 8, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, maybe. And we'll see y'all next time.
See ya.